Hey, welcome to another Flare Corp Media tech tutorial, I guess we'll start calling these. On today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use an Insta360 One X 360 camera to do Google Street View mapping. The Google Street View is what happens when you zoom in on Google Maps and you can see the street. They have a Google car that drives around and records the street so you kind of see what's going on. However, there are missing spots on the map, and also sometimes it takes them 3 or 5 years to get back, so a lot of things can change during that time. So us as consumers can use certain 360 cameras to update or fill in the missing spots on the Street View map. You're doing it for free, but they do have a rewards program with Google Street View, so you can get some credit and they give you some freebies and stuff like that. In a previous video, I showed you how to do the same process using a GoPro 360 Fusion camera, and that process is a lot more complicated than using the Insta360 One X. With this, you'll see in the video if you click the link up here, it requires using a computer and a separate app, and sometimes the GPS information isn't there, and so Google Maps won't recognize it, and so you've wasted some video footage and time and effort because you're not sure if the GPS information is correct in it. So it's kind of complicated. I have found some more troubleshooting tips for that process though, so if you want to use the 360 Fusion, then go back and look in the comments section down below and you'll see the updated tips that I found. Also, with every video I make a blog post on flarecorpmedia.com, and so any other tips and information I write in there as well. But today we're going to only focus on the Insta360 One X. So like I said, the process is a lot easier because you're just using the camera and your phone, no computer involved at all. So I'm going to get it hooked up on my car again. This is just the Insta360 telescopic pole that you can buy. And then I put on a couple GoPro mounts down here. And then I have a GoPro suction cup up there. And so that's how I do my 360 mapping. It just gets it up and out of the way of the car. And if you want links to some of those adapters and stuff, I'll have those in the video description down below. But we got it set up. Let's turn it on and I'll show you how to do this. So we're going to need 2 apps for this. So you're going to need Street View from Google as well as Insta360, which controls your camera. So we're going to start with Street View here. And you could do this on a computer. I find it easier to do it on a computer before you start. Just find the area you want to map, because trying to find areas on here where you want to map can take a little bit of time. So we're just going to try and zoom in here and find my location. Okay, so I'm out at yet another lake. Google seems to not like recording around lakes. Maybe they're like those aliens in signs that are afraid of water. But we can see right here, I'm roughly somewhere back down here. And this whole section hasn't been recorded because there's no blue lines. So I'm going to record this section right here for the Street View and upload it so we fill in that part of the map. All right, so I hopped out, turned on the camera, and now we're going to go to the Insta360 app. It's going to take a second to load. And we're going to connect to the camera if we haven't done so already. Obviously, you need to set that first. We're going to go to Wi-Fi, go to Wi-Fi settings, and it says I'm already connected. So we'll just back out just a bit, and hopefully it'll... Unable to connect to the camera, of course. First time I've had an issue this whole time is when I have the camera recording. All right, I got the Wi-Fi figured out. So now we're just going to go here and connect to the camera. And then what you need to do is go to video. Now you can do 360 photos and upload those just like you could with any other 360 photo with GPS. So like you could use your phone to take a 360 photo and upload those. I've done a couple with the Insta360 One X and they turned out pretty well. So that's one option, but we're doing the Street View mapping, so that's why we need video. Now with the GoPro Fusion, my recommendation was to use the time-lapse mode. Time-lapse mode will not work on this. You need to use video mode. If you try to use time-lapse, when you go to upload it, the app will say that it's not supported, so don't even bother trying. So that does mean that you're going to be uploading and recording larger files. Anyway, so let's go over here to settings then, and like I said, video. Here we're going to try to make our life a little better by clicking on the 5K 30 frames per second. So let's drop that down to 24 frames per second. Still leave it at 5K, that way we get the best quality. But the 24 frames per second is going to be just slightly smaller file sizes. We don't need 30 frames per second. And then the other big thing that you need to make sure you do is you come all the way over here, and way at the end you're going to see GSV, which stands for Google Street View. If you don't see that, then that means your camera's firmware is out of date. It's been out for, I don't know, about 8 months, 10 months. So if you've updated your firmware since then, you'll have it. So just go ahead and click on that. It's going to give you a little prompt, just letting you know you need to stay in the app because the camera does not have GPS built in. We're actually using the phone's GPS tied with the camera. The phone is sending its GPS to the camera is basically what's happening. So you cannot turn off the screen while you're recording. So we'll go ahead and click turn on. So now this little GSV is yellow. And way at the top here, we're going to see the GPS or location indicator. You can see up there, and that means that it's using our location. So we're going to give it just a moment, which is one of the tricks I learned with this, is we just need to make sure we give it time to figure out where we are. But this does a lot better than the Fusion because it's a phone. And that's it, we're ready to actually go. So I want to start the car up. We're going to come here and click record. Start seeing our preview. Going to give it just a second to get rolling. And same tip applies as with the GoPro, is you want to keep it to about 20 miles per hour just so things don't go crazy. You don't want your camera shaking all over the place or that pole up there shaking so much that it falls down. So we're just going to drive through this little area right here and record our video. So while this process is easier because you don't need to worry about a computer and it tends to work better in terms of the bugs not happening, it's more difficult to record because you need to use your phone while you're recording. So it makes it less convenient for just putting it on your bike or on top of your helmet or something, because you have to have your phone turned on all the time. As well as the fact that the Insta360 One X's battery is not very good at all. That's a big speed bump. If anyone who's used one knows that it does not last nearly as long as this does. All right, so I reached the end. So we'll just come here and click the stop button. So I'm just going to drive home and finish this video up in the office. Now that we're back in the office and out of the cold, what we have to do is get the footage off of the camera. So you can do this via Wi-Fi, but it's going to drain your battery faster. And as I said, the battery's pretty small on this. And it's also going to take longer. So we're going to use the included cable. In this case, I'm using an Android Pixel 4 with Android 10. This works on Android 9, I know for sure. So Android 8, I'd assume, but I don't have one to test. So I've already connected these in the past, but we'll just plug this in and it should fire up the Insta360 app. Yep, fires it up automatically. And then we will go ahead and go to album. And over here under camera, it's going to start pulling in all the videos that we took. So you can see here that I did a couple earlier today, and then I've got the one that we just did. And so these need to be copied onto the phone. So we'll just tap on that to get it loaded. And we don't want to trim it at all because we want the whole thing. So we'll just click this download. It's going to download it to the phone. Alright, so that finished copying down to the phone. So now we can disconnect the camera. I'm actually going to back out just to make sure that everything disconnects cleanly. That shuts down the camera automatically. So now what we need is saved onto the phone. So we're going to go here and make sure that we're on phone up here, not camera. Obviously camera is going to say it needs to connect, so we'll go to phone. That's the one that I want right there. We're just going to come up to the three dots here. And I like to do the optimized stitching. It's just going to take a little bit more time, processing time, to make sure that the stitching is as good as possible. So I feel it's worth the effort. says it can take up to 2 minutes. Usually doesn't take that long for the short clips that we're doing for this Google Street View. See, it's done already. And so if you come in here, you can see that that's been turned on already. Now you can also come in here and do the logo. I know someone in the last video asked if you could hide the tripod with like a nadir logo, or however you pronounce that. And this one does let you do it. You can just click that and it's hidden kind of, but you can still see the tripod in there anyway. So I don't think it looks very good. I'm fine letting people see the top of my car. You could probably put in a custom logo, because the Insta360 One X does let you do a custom logo. And stick around to towards the end of the video and I'll show you how to do that. But for now, I'm just going to leave it off because this is going public Google Street View. I don't want advertised for myself. Also, I think that black looks bad, so we'll just leave that off. Alright, so then you come up here and click the share icon. And down here you'll see Google Street View, and we tap that. It's going to bring it in here. And sometimes it may show up here with this post to Insta360 community tapped already. I did the first time I tried doing this, and that's going to let you put in a comment and it'll share it to the Insta360 community. All I care about is sharing it to Google Street View, so I'm going to turn that off. And here you can just verify what you're seeing by playing. It's just letting you give one more chance to make sure that you know what you're actually uploading. So I'm going to hit share. So now what it's going to do is go through and render it to the format that is needed for Google Street View. The file it's processing right now will not be available anywhere on your phone. It's going to process it, upload it, and then delete it. Or keep it in cache until your cache fills up and deletes it. Now, this process can take a while. I'm at 8.5% right now. As this gets close to finishing up, I just have a couple more things I want to tell you. One, the cable that comes with the Insta360 One X, it comes with a USB-C, a micro USB, and a lightning cable tip. The one with the USB-C does not work with the iPad Pro 2018 with the USB-C port. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't work, but you need to use Wi-Fi to copy the video from the camera onto the iPad. Now, so at this point, I need to let you know that even using your phone's GPS and the Insta360 One camera, things can still go wrong. I actually recorded this whole uploading segment one time before, and when I got to this portion of sharing the video to Google Street View, it actually prompted me with a warning saying something along the lines of the GPS data is incomplete, do you still want to upload anyway? I went ahead and clicked yes and let it upload. And then about 24 hours later, I went on to Google Maps to try and see if it had processed, and nothing showed up. So I flipped over to Google Street View, and I got a message saying that there was an error processing and it failed. And so I was gone for Thanksgiving, so I had to wait a day to come back and re-record the same section that I just did. And you can see this time I didn't get that warning. At the end, when I give you the tips and tricks, I'll give you a little explanation of why I think that happened, though I haven't been able to reproduce it yet. Also, you need to make sure that you stay in the app the whole time and don't shut the screen off. And it sits here at 99.9% for longer than it should, but here you're going to see it kick over into uploading. There it goes, uploading. So upload's pretty fast. I have 300 megabit per second upload, but obviously I'm limited by Wi-Fi speed, so the file must not be too big if it's uploading pretty quickly. 36%. Slowing down. Alright, so it finished uploading and it says sharing complete. You can open Google Street to check. So unlike the GoPro where we had to use the Panoskin Trailblazer app to see how the process was going, this is actually all done with the Insta360 app, and we just go over straight to Street View to see how things are going. So we can confirm out of here, and we can back out, and you could probably delete the file if you wanted, but I'm just going to leave it there. And we'll go over here to Street View, and I'm going to click on Profile, which is my profile, and if I bring this up here, you can see the one that we just did, recorded at 4:37 today right there, still processing, And this is one I did earlier at 3:32. It's one of the other ones I saw, and it's finished processing already. Now that we're sitting at the computer, let's take a look at Google Maps to see the routes that we just drove. Now earlier when I was preparing for this video, I went out and drove about a mile stretch in the country that hadn't been mapped before. And within 7 hours, Google had already started populating it with blue dots. And each of those blue dots is one of the photos from the video recording that I had uploaded. And now it's 3 days later, and Google has had a chance to go in there and fully map out the entire stretch that I drove, and you have the solid blue line. And it behaves just like you'd expect from any other Google Street View mapping. So let's go ahead and zoom in and take a look at that one since it's all the way finished. Just come here and grab the little Street View person, and it's this section right here. Now I'm actually going to come in from the side so you can see the quality difference between the official Google Street View car that was recorded back in 2007 and the one that we did with the Insta360 One X. So we'll come in here and you can see that the quality is pretty rough, and this was recorded August 2007. We'll just kind of zoom in here, get closer to where I started mapping. If we come right here to this intersection, you can actually see right up here that now we have a little drop down arrow, whereas we didn't have that before. If we click on that, you can see that all the times that this section was recorded for Google Street View. So 2007 was the official Google car, but now we can see 2019 is my car, and you can see when I hovered over it changed to my recording. So let's just go ahead and switch over to that. And I can actually see a quality improvement from what we were just looking at. So that means that even if your whole area has been mapped already, if something's old enough and you have one of these cameras, it's still worthwhile to go up and update it. One, because it looks better, and two, because things change and you can give a more recent account of what's going on. Especially if buildings or businesses come and go in an area, it's good to see what's the latest thing is there. But yeah, so now we're down here on this route. Going to the left here, you can see. And if we just come in here and start moving, it behaves just exactly as you'd expect. Now let's jump over to the one that I recorded with you guys. It's actually the one that I told you had incomplete GPS data, and the one that Google Street View said failed processing at Google. However, 3 days later now, it's attempted to process it, and in Google Street View's app, it actually says it's processed. So if we come in here, we can kind of see that it's trying to process it. And it just goes to show that if it's your only copy of a section, it's still worth uploading because some of it works. And who knows, in a couple more days, Google may finish processing it correctly. So it's this section right here. If we grab the little person, you can see it's made a blue line, but it doesn't navigate very well. You'll see here in a second. If I drop it here. This part is working okay, but see here it lost me where I am. And now it just may not have finished processing this section. It could just be a couple days behind the other one. But in order to continue on, I have to back out and scooch up a little bit here. And here in a second, it's going to get even weirder because it's going to start thinking I'm driving in the grass. That's quite a big jump there. And now you can see on the left there, the X's are in the grass. If I click on that, it's just going to kind of send me back and forth, and it has a really hard time with this corner. It's jumping me all over the place. And again, I'm stuck and can't navigate further. So I'm going to let this section continue to process, and I'll let you know in the video description down below if it ever does finish processing. Otherwise, I've gone back and re-recorded this section and went and checked the upload to Google Street View, and it did not give me a GPS warning this time. So if this one never finishes correctly, I'll upload that one and hopefully it'll overwrite this one and replace it with one that you can travel all the way through. But I'll have a link to both of these map locations in the video description below so you can take a look for yourself. I went ahead and mapped the rest of this park as well, just to verify how things were working. Hey, sorry to interrupt this video. I was just about to upload it to YouTube when, in typical fashion, I found a flaw with what I just said. I always verify my videos right before I upload them to make sure that the information is as accurate as possible. And what happened here is I was going back and looking at Street View and Profile, looking at, I told you I went around and finished that park. Well, look at this. Publishing failed, unable to provide location information. Publishing failed, publishing failed, publishing failed. I got quite a few of the other ones done, but that's 4 out of 8 or 9 that I recorded failed, and I used all the tips I just told you about. So, just wanted to let you know that this solution is not perfect. A couple things that maybe could have accounted for this. One, you'll see at the end of the video with the tips and tricks, having the force connection turned on. The other one is, I just think I was driving too fast. It's a very windy road that I was mapping, and the GPS just may not have been pulling quick enough. So if I'd slowed down and driven like 5 miles per hour, it may have been able to track me better, because even on some of these other ones, I'll have a link to the map and you can go and mess around and check it yourself. The route skips around. Like, you can't, even though it's a solid line on Google Maps, you can't click around properly. So if you're doing windy roads, slow down. I haven't had a problem with the Insta360 One X on just a straightaway in the open. That worked just fine. So if you're driving curvy or maybe have tall skyscrapers or something, or trees, maybe try slowing down. But when it warms up, I'm going to take both of these cameras and anything else I can get my hands on and go out and try and come up with a definitive guide on the best way to get reliable Street View footage. So subscribe so you don't miss that video when it comes out. It'll be, like I said, in the spring when it gets a little warmer, because it kind of stinks to stand outside in 30-degree weather messing around with this. Anyway, on with the video. So that's pretty much it. I told you it's a much simpler system than the GoPro Fusion Trailblazer app version that I showed you last time. The only downsides, like I said, is the fact that you have to have your phone on all the time, and the Insta360 One X has a pretty short battery life. I'll give you some tips and tricks here in a second for this system, but I want to thank everyone for watching, and if you do want to pick up an Insta360 One X for yourself, I'd appreciate it if you use my affiliated link in the video description down below. It takes you to Amazon, doesn't cost you any extra money, but it gives a little kickback to me to help support the channel. Also, let me know in the comments below if you're interested in more Google Street View type videos. I can show you how to use your phone or the cameras to take photos, and how to navigate the app a little bit more and build up your credit, and what the heck the Google Street View credit actually does and what the levels are. So if you're interested in that topic, leave a comment down below, please. So let's go over those tips and tricks real fast. If you want to add your own custom nadir logo to a video, then you need to go down to Settings, and there's a nadir logo option. And there are a couple built in already, so you can have white or black, and it gives you a preview here. You can also use Insta360 One X if you want it labeled. You can use one of these graphics, or you can do user defined. Slightly different on iOS device in the fact that it just lists them out. There aren't these tabs down here, and it just has this plus at the end. But otherwise, just click on this user defined, and we're going to come and find this FlareCorp Media logo. And of course, let's see here. Well, going to have to scale it to be properly sized. You'd think I'd be able to shrink it, but anyway, we'll just, for the sake of demonstration here, just throw FlareCorp Media logo next. And there you can see what that'd look like. So you can come and pull it into Photoshop, make a round icon, feather it or something so it doesn't look like a cookie cutter cutout. And then if we click confirm, you can now see it's added, and we can go back here. And whichever one you have picked here is what you're going to be able to select in the video. You can't select in the videos from all of these. You have to come into settings and pick the one that you want. So if we go back to album, click on that, come up here and do the logo again. Boop. Now you can see our logo is covering up our tripod. But I don't think that looks very good, especially if I want to be uploading it to Google Street View. I think it's kind of tacky personally to label your videos. But you do you. One other tip to help make sure that you got GPS data recorded to your video while you're out in the field recording is to copy the file to your phone using the method we just did. Click on the video and then come up here to the three dots, and there's something called stats, support for displaying your speed, etc. If you click on that, it's going to give you some metrics down here: speed, elevation, direction, total distance, route, etc. I'm going to click on route down here and click play. I might have to get the order right. And up here in the top right corner, then you can see my route. And the fact that that's displaying means that it has GPS information. And if I click on speed, you can see I'm getting a speed now of what I'm moving. So again, that just proves that I have GPS information. But we actually don't want this because anything that you have turned on here will get copied into the final video. So that would not be correct. One final tip is if you're getting a message when you're trying to pair your camera via Wi-Fi that says like the camera can't finish pairing, restart the camera to try again, and you restart and it doesn't fix it, there's one setting you can come over here in settings and scroll to the bottom. There is this force connect setting, and it says it may fix issues where a phone can't connect to the camera. If you come in here and turn that on, almost immediately always it connects to my camera and I can proceed like normal. However, this does have a warning that says this could affect the community uploading and other functions. And I'm not saying it caused the issues, but I had this turned on the first time that I got the corrupted GPS information, the one that you saw me record. I tried to reproduce the corruption with this turned on and I wasn't able to. So don't use this unless you have to. And once you're paired, maybe come and turn it back off. It'll stay paired. So it helps with connection. It probably doesn't do anything to the GPS, but just leave it off if you don't need it. But that's going to do it for this episode. If you appreciated the information, please give it a thumbs up. It helps Google share it with other people looking for this video. And then while you're at it, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the other tech videos, these tutorial type videos I do. I do travel vlogs, I do camping type videos, quite a wide range of stuff. But until next time, I'm doing what I love, keep doing what you love. Thanks for watching.